I am known as Pigpen on this show. Very nice to meet you, Glen.
Yep.
Hey, Pig, I'm Dave.
Ray Warren, nice to meet you.
Ray.
And
I talked to you on the air. This is Dennis in the other room. He'll be
Dennis.
joining us in just a second. He'll be sitting right over there. He's just getting some levels. He's setting up the recording. Don't know exactly when we'll play this back part of it. It'll be, I mean, you guys play all the time, so it doesn't matter when we play it back.
Right.
We'll be able to promote some show behind
Sure.
it.
Yeah, good.
It'll be several weeks down the road because that's kind of how we do it sometimes.
Sure.
We just were talking about you're playing at the Keys at Carlisle, Lake
Yeah.
Carlisle. Never heard of that place. Is that you guys played there before?
Yeah.
Lots of times.
Is it a pretty happening little joint out there at Lake Carlisle? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Because we talk about gigs every week. We talk about whatever's happening around here, and that was just one. I'm like, when we see a new venue that we haven't seen, there's one that just popped up in Jerseyville, Proof. They have something happening every weekend since the day they opened.
I heard about that place.
Yeah, it seems like they
we
got a
haven't played
pretty...
there yet, but
yeah,
we've heard about it.
I've seen mostly like acoustic shows there. But
Oh
I
no,
have
they're
seen a couple bands.
they're doing full on bands there too. But yeah, they have done some acoustic shows and
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, so we've got Ray,
Yes, sir. Hey, Dennis. I'm Ray.
Dave. You're going in perfect order, and Glen and Colin is not with us.
Colin couldn't make it.
Okay. I'm just glad you're in the perfect order that I already wrote it down, so I don't have to start making little lines and trying to remember who's who.
Just making switch chairs.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. We have to play musical chairs. All right. And what year did Doc Holliday come together? And
Well, originally it was in 2000, and it was with a different group of folks, and then we took a break about 2007 and started back up in 2010 with pretty much present lineup. Glen joined us 3 years ago,
all right.
but I'd been after him for 2 years before that.
He finally
You're playing hard to get, weren't you?
We need to talk kind of
Get in there a little
sharing,
bit.
yeah.
It's real sensitive, so you don't have to get up on it like
Okay.
when you're singing,
All right.
but it will matter if you lean in a little.
Okay.
Okay.
Sound a little less roomy.
Get it to go down. There it goes.
There we are.
All right. So Glen hooked up. You were the last member of the current lineup to join the.
I'm the last member of the
join
current
forces.
lineup.
And nobody leaves the firm now.
That was a little mobbed up here, man.
Outlaw country, brother.
Right. Okay, so Dave, are you and Colin relation?
Well, yeah, actually.
It's your son?
Colin is my son.
And he's been playing, Dennis told me since he was like 4.
He started playing with our band when he was 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was
Wow.
15 when he started, so he's an amazing drummer. If anything, come out and see us to watch him play. He's really good.
Colin, 15 when he
I
started.
was reading on their website where he got his drum set when he was 4.
Yeah.
That's crazy to even think about. But drums, for a 4-year-old, drums is perfect, man. They like to beat on stuff. Just get them down to a 2/4.
That's right. He, from a baby, he always liked listening to music, and he was always tuned in with the patterns, the drum patterns, He'd pull all of the pots and pans out in the kitchen floor and set up make-believe drums and use wooden spoons. And we used to laugh about it back then, but I didn't realize how really a great musician he is.
All right, we need to level with you. Okay. We interview musicians, and we're musicians, and all of them that have kids,
Yeah.
they end up becoming a drummer because none of them can get a drummer to come over and play with them.
Because drummers
That's
are
the
too
real
hard to keep
reason they're on
around.
the drum.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like a standard joke now. It says every time we hear a son in the band, it's like, I bet he plays drums.
Well, he can't argue.
Right.
He pretty much goes along along with the flow anyway.
And since we've started the show, both of his kids now are taking drum lessons. So,
Because I need drummers, man. That's right.
so we're learning.
One thing we found out over the years is sometimes it's easier just to get a good friend and teach him to play drums than it is to find a drummer who will show up all the time and hang out. I don't know what it is with drummers. I guess because they know every band needs a drummer. They're always running around.
They're finicky and choosy. And easily bored.
Yeah. I've had that. Well, you play with me, you get tired of C, G, and D pretty quick. Could you play another chord? No, sorry.
Why?
These three are doing
those other chords.
These three are doing great, man.
Oh goodness!
I gotta make sure I turn this down. He makes fun of me if I forget. He makes fun of me no matter what. Yeah.
So, Ray, you played with Ricky Skaggs.
Yeah, I did. It's really funny how that happened. I was in Branson. I was playing shows down there, and for a morning gig, I was engineering a radio show.
Yeah.
And it was called Branson Coast to Coast.
Right.
And so I got to know all the artists and stuff. And Ricky came through the show a couple times, and got to know him. And then a friend, he was looking for a monitor guy. Actually, is how it all started. And a friend of mine called him up and said, "You need to hire this cat." And he came and talked to me about it. I went and did some gigs with him, and he hired me, and I moved to Nashville and got lucky and ended up playing on some shows, toward the end of the tour, because one of the guys got sick and had to leave the band, and it was an amazing. It's one of those things where I've just been lucky. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Never been good at anything, but I've been lucky a lot.
I've been lucky a lot. Yeah.
And Pigpen, you'll love to know that he was the engineer for that radio show, Branson Radio Cafe. So just like us, just standing behind the board, and all of a sudden now I'm playing guitar with you.
That's exactly how it happened.
Right place at the right time. Absolutely fabulous, man. So you got hired on as a monitor guy and end up on the show. Neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It also mentioned Vince Gill. Did you play with him?
I did some shows with Vince. Actually, with Vince, I met Vince at Granny's Rocker.
Okay, not surprised.
That was my hangout, man.
For Pure Prairie League.
Okay.
Oh, right on.
And it's where I first met him. And then when you're with Skaggs and you're living in Nashville, you're automatically in royalty. It's like anywhere they're glad to meet you,
right?
And they take to you. So I got to do some shows with Vince, not playing, but running sound.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you grow up in this area then?
I grew up in South County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So why were you at Granny's Rocker? I got to know, because that was one of our hangouts.
That's another story. Well, my cousins owned Granny's Rocker.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Beowulf, yeah.
Okay,
right
okay. Now we're getting down to brass tacks.
Me and Larry and Bobby and Danny and Jimmy, and Dave was the original bass player.
I'm the original bass player.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So they all had a band when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Cottonwood.
Okay.
And then they went down to Nashville, worked with Troy Seals.
Yeah.
You guys won You Could Be a Star or something like that?
Yeah, we won You Could Be a Star. We got first place in the first shows.
What is that, in Nashville?
It was sort of like American Idol back then.
Right, but it was on TV, I guess?
Oh, yeah, it was on TV.
Oh, okay.
It was hosted by Jim Ed Brown.
And what was it called?
It was called You Can Be a Star.
Okay.
And what it did was it gave up and coming artists an opportunity to perform before a live audience, and then get producers to see them and see if they would take them in,
right,
and do things with them. I was able to get some songs placed with Troy Seals and Down in Dixie Music after that.
Nice.
So out of that, they Bobby and Larry decided that, since Dave won that on his vocal ability, we'll just move back and start a rock band and call it by a club, and that's kind of what happened.
Basically, what happened.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome.
So
you were from this area originally too, then?
Well, I'm originally from Missouri.
Okay.
And I grew up in St. Ann over by the airport.
Okay.
And then I moved to Illinois, and
because of the
met a lady, got
Beowulf
married,
guys,
and
right?
moved to Illinois, and I became friends with the Rollins brothers, and that's
Okay.
how I got involved in all of that.
Okay.
We toured for 17 years.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, boom,
made a
meaning-
nice living at it too.
We've been meaning to get him on. And this guy here, speaking of American Idol, you opened for the guy from American Idol, right? The Josh Grayson.
Josh Grayson.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him, but he was on American Idol apparently.
He, I don't remember what season it was.
Yeah.
But he got American Idol. I was with a different group at the time, not with these guys, and had an opportunity to open for them twice.
Yeah.
And great guys, fun shows.
Yeah, where was that at?
Well, the first time we did at Wild Country,
Okay.
and they rented out the whole place and did Wild Country. The second time was a place called Big Sticks
Okay.
in I'm trying to think, Breeze, Illinois.
Okay.
And they
Breeze,
had their,
Illinois, yeah.
and it was sponsored by a big motor company and stuff, and it's a good time. We had a
All
great
right,
time there,
cool.
So
The Speakeasy and
Speakeasy,
Breezy.
Larry
I was
Schneider.
sitting there, I was going, man, I've done shows with like
yeah.
Head East and Foghat. I've been to Breeze with some, and then I was trying to come up with a Speakeasy. Yep, right on. Always have to stay in the hotel in Germantown because Breeze didn't have one at the time.
Yep.
Now Glen's story, how like I've played with some amazing guitar players.
Yeah.
And of course you always think your player's the best, and but his vocal ability, his playing's unreal. But he started out as a keyboard player, and to hear him play lead guitar the way he does,
Yeah.
I just stand on stage. There's nights I stand on stage. We'll do a 4-part harmony thing, and I'll have goosebumps. And I'm like, how did I get this band together?
Yeah.
But you got to hear
Right.
Glen's story. I don't remember what band you started with, Beck.
74, wasn't it?
I started playing in '74,
Yeah.
and then I played in a lot of different school bands and stuff like that. And I got a band called Backstage back then.
Okay, I remember them.
And then a couple other bands, but I was a keyboard player.
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot of the keys. Had about 7 of them all around me. And the thing about it is all those years playing, they'd always set me up behind the column over here with the speakers, and the band's out there playing. Where's all that sound? The guy's back there in the corner. That was me on the keyboards. And he'd always face me, the drummer, and the drummer's always looking at me. And the guitar player's always running around having a good time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's got to be a change here somewhere. So I went, and my mom actually, God love her, she went to a yard sale and came home with this old Sears Silvertone guitar.
Nice.
She handed it to me. I grabbed that guitar and didn't even know how to tune it. I learned how to tune it, and I just started hitting notes on the keyboard, and I started learning where they were here, and that was it.
Being a keyboardist, he already had the music theory down, man. It's all
Right.
black and white to him.
Yeah.
Now I just transpose it from the keyboard to the fretboard. You're right.
I can read music with the keys, but the guitar is just totally
by ear.
Yeah, when I hear
Nice.
something, I do totally by ear.
I always played woodwinds in school. I just played woodwinds all the time, and then I didn't pick up a guitar till I was almost 20 years old. And I would, like Glen, I was ear self-taught. I just picked it up and figured it out, and then when I was in Nashville, I learned the number system, and it opened up, a whole new world. It's just
Circle of fifths.
it's
Yeah.
so much easier to play.
Yeah.
I joined these guys and realized after I joined them, there's no song list, that they just start hollering out songs. And I'm kind of like, well, this is unique. For about 30 years, I've been playing with song lists on the floor.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, these guys are like, 1, 3, 5. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I had to hurry up and learn the numbering system. So I think I got it down now.
Yeah.
I believe.
I'd say.
Awesome.
Yeah, I actually began as a rhythm guitar player, and that's what I did all the way up until I was about 17 years old. And there was a band that had an opening for a bass player, and I was in high school, and this was a 5 nights a week job, and I was looking at making some pretty good money and still go to high school. But it was a bass player job, a bass player who sings. So I went to McMurray Music on Page and sang.
I remember that. Had the big guitar.
Big
Yeah,
guitar,
the old
that's
big
right.
2-story guitar.
And I bought a little Hagstrom bass guitar, and the first time I even played it was when I went to audition for the job. And they hired me on the spot, and I've been a bass player ever since.
Yeah. But it goes back further, Pigman, because when he was a little bitty boy, he was on stage. They called him the little kid with the big voice.
Oh yeah. I actually started singing and setting in with bands when I was 11.
Oh,
I was
wow.
11 years old, and although I didn't play an instrument on stage at that time, I just sang. And my dad used to take me around to jam sessions. He'd take me in bars where there were bands so I could get the experience.
Wow.
And
You ended up on TV, right?
yeah, several times.
Yeah. When you were little, right, as a kid, right?
Yeah, there was a show called the Norval Dollar Show,
Okay.
and I performed on that one time. And there were some other ones, but I don't remember what they were. It was too long ago.
Right. So
I don't want to date myself.
I was on the Steve Allen show. No.
Bernie Coleman.
Nice. Oh, man.
all right.
Well,
Cool stuff. All right, so that's what we're going to do again, basically.
No problem.
But it's always good to kind of get it
we're
out
going to
of your
relive all of
system,
that
and
one more time.
That was like rehearsal, basically.
Oh, yeah, we should have been recording.
We were recording, and sometimes we do go back and use the original
Yeah.
recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but a
sure.
lot of times we do what we just did. We take notes. We sort of go through it again, a little more structured, and then sometimes we go back and get the original one.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're a little more prepared this time
Yeah.
because we've already
That's true,
talked
but
about
now
it.
you're
so-
forcing us to have to give the same answers.
No. You can give a totally different answer as long as
You
it's
know
more
what's
entertaining than the
coming,
first one. I really don't care if it's true or not.
See, we didn't want to surprise you like you guys did Glen and just start yelling numbers at him.
Hey, he caught on really fast.
They make my job easy, really. I mean, his son, and he plays bass, and his son's a drummer. They've been playing together for so many years.
All right.
And a lot of times, man, their rhythm lines are so tight that Ray and I just kind of like sit back. Sometimes I just sit back and just like, it makes my job easy. Just let them go. You
When
know?
the rhythm section's happening, nothing else really needs to be. That's what the butts are shaking right
it's
there.
good, man. They got it going on.
It's almost like my son and I can read each other's minds, and I can anticipate when he's going to do something. And it's vice versa. He does the same with me.
Yep.
So we augment each other all the time, and stuff, that's just on the fly. And even though there's songs that we played a lot, there are jam
Yep.
sections where you can jam, like when we're ending out a song, and we can play with it, and it becomes really, really fun.
That to me is some of the most fun stuff is when you just start improvising in the middle.
Improvisational.
All right, I really like it whenever nobody even says anything at the beginning of a jam session. Music just starts happening. And after 20 minutes you stop and go, that was fun, let's play a song, I guess.
Right.
But nobody even says a key or a tune. Just people just start picking, tuning, and all of a sudden something's happening. I love that. That's
Or you're sitting there and all of a sudden someone wants to hear some Gene Watson or something. I'm like, who is he? I never played him. Follow along. You'll do good. 1-3, whatever. I'm like, okay.
Now, where are you guys from now? Where you guys live?
Oh, okay. Well, I live in Collinsville.
Okay.
Okay. Ray, he still lives in South County. Lives
Yeah,
in,
I'm back in South County.
Right.
Yeah.
I live over in Staunton.
Uh-huh. So
where you
where's
originally from?
Colin,
Staunton.
Colin, my son, he lives in Alton here.
Okay.
There was a place. Let's see. Staunton had was at the Crystal Palace,
Crystal Ballroom.
Crystal Ballroom. Yeah, we used to play there back in the day.
Back
and,
in the day, I always played the Benell
Coliseum was the bomb.
Yep,
Man.
yep.
I worked there with a lot of good bands and played that. They had like the backstage was upstairs and downstairs. Man, this is like rock star stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You stand up there, and there'd just be so many people on the floor in the balcony. You can actually feel the place just move when the people are just up there dancing and everything.
Oh man,
Not a lot
good
of
time.
clubs left like those days, stages and the Coliseum.
No.
That was an amazing time.
That was sad
Right.
to see that when it burned down. That was just sad.
Yeah, that was because I've seen a lot of good shows there. Got to play. I mean, it was just that was like the first place you ever played, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
First
actually.
real gig you
It
ever
was
played
on the
Ballroom.
down side of it, but yeah.
I went to the building. I took a brick when it burned down. And I took a brick, 2 bricks from the front assembly, and I got them sitting in my garage. It's just kind of like a little memory. There's an old brick from the old Coliseum,
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that was one of the first times I got to play someone and go, this is like real. I felt like a rock star, It wasn't just some little dive or whatever, with three. It was still only 5 people on the floor, but it was a big stage with 5 people. All right, you want to relive all this again?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's have some fun.
Okay.
All right, this time
I'm
I'll do a
going
little
to.
countdown, and then we'll start. I'll do a little intro here.
All right.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. I'm Dennis, and
I'm Pigpen.
that's right. And it's another edition of Riverbend Talent, and I'm excited tonight, Pigpen, because, you know, I love history, and we've got a band that's been around for quite some time that's played a lot of the old places that we only heard stories about, me and you. So I'm hoping to dig into some of those stories tonight as we talk to the Doc Holliday Band. And I know folks...
Oh, wait a minute.
I know folks have seen these guys because they play all the major, like, carnivals and fairs, and so...
But I'm confused. See, I know you love history and everything,
Right.
and when you said, "Oh, we're interviewing Doc Holliday," I went and looked up some information. I got John Henry Doc Holliday, American gambler, gunfighter, dentist.
Yeah, we're gonna get
friend
into
of Wyatt
that.
Earp.
We're gonna
That's
get
not.
into that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at my job at all.
That was my great grandfather.
We do have the Doc.
Let that happen.
We do have the Doc Holliday band, and that is Dave Spier. Is it Spier? I'm sorry.
Spier.
Dave Spier, the bass player. And right next to him is Ray Warren, guitarist and vocalist. And we've got Glen Cease. I'm sorry. Glen Cease. I'm going to edit that later. Glen Cease, who is the lead guitar and also vocalist in the band. And welcome to the studio, guys. Thanks for coming down.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Great to
missing
be
in
here.
action is Dave's son, Colin, who is from Alton, but couldn't make it tonight. So
He
we
was
just
unable to make it tonight.
All right. So, and he's the drummer. So we
Yes.
got everybody covered now, right?
And like we always talk about, Dave made his son play drums.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've learned. If there's anything you
have
learn
learned.
listening to this show, if you've got a son, make him play drums. You've got a
Somebody
band.
had to do
Or
that.
daughter.
Or daughter.
You're
yeah.
right.
Actually, I have 3 sons.
Yeah.
And all 3 of my sons are talented musicians.
Yeah.
One is a keyboard player, but he prefers to work weather for NASA down in
Wow.
Florida. Every time a spaceship goes up, they launch a rocket. He does the upper atmospheric weather.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm real proud of him.
And
is cool.
that's more fun than playing keyboard? Okay, whatever.
He's an awesome keyboard player. He's a great singer, but he just preferred to follow a different
That's
Yeah.
pretty
different path,
interesting.
and that's
Yeah.
fine. And then my middle son is a guitar player, and he also is a songwriter. But he's raising a family and working a regular job, so he has to put everything else on a side burner right now.
Now, Dave.
But he's going to write some good songs when it's over because he's been living a regular life.
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to mention Dave ought to know about being raised in a musical family because he was on stage at a very young age
Very,
too.
very young age. Now, my father, when I was a baby, when I was very young, my father used to go down onto Bolivar Avenue and set in with the bands that used to play there. I don't remember any of that because it was just all told to me, but he had a white guitar. It was all white. And he used to strum it and sing, and I would sit and watch him play, and then he would also let me play it. And that's how I gained my initial interest in music. And that's that, and then watching the shows on black and white TV. Mm-hmm. You know,
Which you ended up on black and white TV. No, you ended up on TV.
On TV, yeah.
And how old were you about when you
I was
first
about 11 years old whenever I started
11
doing it in
years
front of
old.
people. Where my dad would take me around to shows, events, bands having jam sessions. I would go and I would sit in. I wasn't physically playing an instrument at that time. I was just a singer.
Yeah.
And even there were nights when my dad would even take me to bars. And being that young, he would take me in, and then the band would get me up to sing, and I became pretty popular that way.
Yeah. Known as the little kid with the big voice.
Yeah, they used to call me Little Davy Spier.
Okay.
Little Davy, but now it kind of like irks me when people call me that.
So no big deal to get your kids started when they're 3, 4 years old, buy them a drum set,
Heavens
right?
no! My son started beating on pots and pans when he was 3 years old.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I knew that he was a natural for it, and then so were the other boys. My middle son Austin used to mimic Garth Brooks all the time, and then and my oldest son, he started on one of those little toy xylophones, and I knew that he had talent, and we got him a Casio piano, and then he just took it from there, and he just became really, really good.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
Also, we're talking to Ray Warren. Now, Ray, you had a chance to play with Ricky Skaggs, right?
I did, yeah. Back in middle 90s, about 20 years ago, I was lucky enough. One of those musicians who's blessed more than good. I was in the right place at the right time, had the right job. So I met Ricky. I was living in Branson doing all the shows, and I was engineering a radio show at the time. And Ricky was a guest on there a lot, and got to talking to him, and he came in and needed somebody to run monitors, actually, and so I went on the road with him and ended up playing gigs with him towards the end of the tour. And it was a 2-year, we were on the road about 2 years, and then he signed a new record deal, went in the studio, so we were just doing Opry gigs. We weren't doing a lot of work, so I ended up doing some stuff with Trish Yearwood and Mavericks and other bands, going out on the road with them, and got to meet a lot of people.
Right.
It was a good time.
You spent a lot of time in Branson too, right?
I did.
What's it like down there for folks compared to this area as far as the music scene?
From a music scene standpoint, it's a job. It's a same show. I was doing 3 shows a day down there, and then I'd work out at Silver Dollar City and run sound and Echo Hollow at night. It's a different vibe, but we would also, we'd have a day off. Sometimes we'd all get together and jam out at one of the clubs, and that was fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's pretty interesting though to go from in one tour to go from the monitor guy to being on stage.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
That's pretty impressive. Like, I mean, I know like Benson went from being like just the houseboy to like the lieutenant governor in like 2 seasons, but you did this in one tour, right? I mean, you didn't go from butler to lieutenant governor, but you did go from monitor guy to playing on stage with Ricky Skaggs in one tour. That's pretty, like you say, pretty lucky or amazing.
It was lucky. When you're doing the Opry, you would host an early show and then you would host a late show, and there'd be a break in the middle, and you'd have a couple hours. So sometimes we go to dinner, and sometimes we would just sit around back when the Opry was out at Opryland, and sit in this backstage area, and we would just all pick up guitars and start jamming, and sitting in a circle and singing old stuff, and whoever was guest that night, we might do some of their songs, and you'd pick up a lot of tricks. That's how I learned the number system, was doing that, and I got lucky and ended up singing on some shows with him and playing rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
And for those people who are listening and don't know what he means when he says the number system, it's playing by number instead of note, instead of A, B, C. You're playing 1, 3, 5, 7, or better known as the circle of fifths, and it's guys who play like that. Now you can be playing this in any key, and someone says, "All right, let's do that in the key of A." All right, let's do it in the key of A minor. And you can switch on the fly when you learn how to play by the number system like that. And that's the way a lot of professional
it's the Nashville way, yeah. It's, nobody had a sheet of music down there.
No, you call out a few numbers and you take off. Yeah, it's and Glen has learned the number system since joining you guys, right?
Right.
Because you did not play that way.
No, I did not play that way at all. And it was a total shock at first. When he started yelling out numbers, I'm like, I can't play that number. I don't know where it's at. And now I do. So,
sorry, I have notes, not numbers. I have letters.
So now I do. So I got to kind of figured out on the fly pretty good.
Now, you started out on the keyboards, right?
I was a keyboard player.
Right.
Yep.
And why'd you switch over to guitar?
Because everybody was having fun except me.
Oh.
I mean, no, they set the keyboard guy back behind the sound column. You never knew he was there, but you can hear him. And then when you look across the stage, I was always staring at the drummer all night. So him and I was smiling at each other, and the guitar players were running across the stage having a great time. And at that point in time, I just looked and said, "There's got to be a change." So I picked up an old guitar and learned how to play it by ear, and I set the keyboards aside and never have turned back. So.
You don't ever tinkle the ivory every now and then.
No. If I don't have the ambition to get back into that again. So, yep.
Too much fun bending strings. Huh?
Yeah, I love the guitar. It's fascinated by it. So
eventually, Ray, you and Dave meet right here in Alton, right at Granny's Rocker.
Yeah, well, I knew Dave. He was in a band with my cousins. They were on the road doing shows. So I met Dave when I was 8 years old, and so I kind of of grew up with him around. He always was kind of creepy, hanging around all the time. And he had a van. So, yeah, I met Dave when I was a kid, and he's become one of my best friends over the years, you know. And so whenever I moved back to St. Louis, kind of retired, you know, from the music business, and thought I was, you know, I sold all my stuff. I'm just going to work a day job. Well, it was like 3 weeks later, I'm back at the store trying to buy a guitar, and I called Dave. I was like, let's do this, you know.
But he was working at Granny's Rocker, and you went down and talked to him, I guess, when you got the Doc Holliday band going there?
No, by then he had left Beowulf, and
okay, so let's fill people in. You were playing bass for Beowulf.
I was playing bass for Beowulf.
And they bought the club, Granny's
They bought
Rocker.
the club, and then several years thereafter, I went ahead and I left the band.
Okay.
I was married. I had a new child, and I was looking at settling down was the plan. And it took me about a year to realize that I was not very happy.
Well, you got creepy friends like Ray.
Yeah,
come along.
Ray's coming along every time. But I was lucky enough to meet some musicians and got involved, and I worked with a band called the General Lee Band, and we played strictly country music, and I did that for like 9 years, and then I left that band. We disbanded. And that's when Ray hooked up with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and that was the beginning of the Doc Holliday.
yeah,
band.
it was around 2000, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, around that.
So when did Glen come along?
2010, was it?
Yeah, 2010 was when we started this lineup. We had played about 6 years, took a break for a couple years, and when I restarted the band, that's when Colin started with us. I had a different drummer on the first round, and when I started that Doc Holliday back up, you know, we had a friend of ours who's passed away since, playing steel and lead, and we were doing a lot of classic country stuff, and we thought that's the kind of band we were going to be. And after he passed away, we got another guy named Michael Hermsmeyer he's with Mickey Gilley right now.
Okay,
and he was playing steel and fiddle and lead in the band, and we were kind of stretching out a little bit to some more rock stuff, you know. And then Mike left to go with Mickey Gilley. I finally talked Glen into joining the band, and now it's balls to the wall. It's Head East. It's Poison. It's Buck Owens. We just do everything.
Right,
now.
we do everything. That is a strange set. Buck Owens
The country boys verged with an old 80s rocker.
Right.
Yeah. So we kind of mix it all together. So through the night, you might hear some Gene Watson or whatever, and then we'll turn right around and do some Mario Speedwagon or Head East and just pop it right out.
You know, we talk a lot about the music scene, and I brought up Branson earlier, and one of the things we've noticed here, you know, especially from doing these interviews and living here all our lives, is that you can make a living playing music in this area, and there's so many different types of music that you can go out there and make a living doing that as. And in your guys' case, a lot of those people that listen to all these different genres end up in one building with you guys, and you can actually cater to country fans, rock fans, doesn't matter which way they want to go that night, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, try to make it versatile.
Yeah, there's a lot of nights it goes that way. There's clubs we play that, you know, you look out and you go, okay, we're going to start off with Merle Haggard tonight or Brooks and Dunn. And there's other clubs we walk into and it's like, okay, Glenn, it's whip out some Poison. So it is versatile in it. But you guys know from being musicians, it's chemistry. And I've played with some amazing players, or I've stood on stage with some amazing players, let's put it that way. and I got to tell you, this is the best band I've ever been in.
Nice.
Right now.
And doesn't that feel nice when you're just, you know, even if, like, I play in one band with my wife, and we are not musically the best band anywhere. Not even in the room with just ourselves necessarily. But, wow, it's so much fun because it's the right people. It's like you say, it's chemistry, sometimes musically chemistry, and sometimes just being there with the closest of friends, man. You know, it's a band.
That's exactly right. We have so much fun together, and there is a camaraderie between us. We're like brothers, you know.
Which means this is the first band I could play it in. I've been playing for 43 years, and about 35 of them semi-professionally. It's the first band that's absolutely zero drama. We go there, we have a great time, we leave, shake hands, everybody loads equipment, we're out of there.
We even text each other to make sure everybody made it home all right.
Nice.
I'm sure with Dave growing up in a family playing music, it wasn't hard to just become a family with a guy like him who's used to playing with family members anyways, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
What's some of the bands, Glenn, you mentioned that you played in around this area that people might remember?
Back in the beginning, I played in a band called Backstage.
Okay.
That was one of the big rock bands I played in, and there were several other ones. But here recently, in this area, right before I joined these guys, I played with a band called Hicktown.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was a guitar player for Hicktown. Back when it first started, I played with them, I don't know, 5 or 7 years, something like that. And finally, the band kind of dissolved. These guys were after me for about 2 years prior to that, and I was going to go with them. And somehow Hicktown decided he wanted to stick it out a little bit, and so I decided to stick it out, but it just kind of folded. I think they're still back together now.
Yeah, I see their name pop up.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
still playing
Yeah,
around.
they're looking for him now.
Yeah. One guy's left, Joe Catalano. The guy, one person left in that band is one of the original guys. All the rest are different, but they're a good band too. So very good band.
Right on.
Now we know, Dave, you started out listening to the Grand Ole Opry and country music, I guess, when you were really young. Was that
That's
always?
right. Well, my influence, of course, was with my father, who never was a professional player, but he used to like to go down on DeBoliver Street, DeBoliver Avenue, and he would sit in with the bands down there. And he's the one that actually got me stimulated musically,
Right. So you were singing mainly country songs back then?
It was all country music back then, and I remember laying on the floorboard of our station wagon, driving down to southern Missouri on the weekends, and listening to the Friday night Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
And I'd lay in that floorboard.
Now, how about you, Ray? Were you always a country guy, too? I know you worked down there in Branson and Nashville, but were you really a country guy, or were you there rock in there, too?
There was some rock in there. My parents were kind of party animals.
Okay.
So on a Saturday morning, Mom would get up to clean the house, and she had this old console tube single speaker record player, and she would put a stack of albums on, and it would be Fats Domino and Tammy Wynette and George Jones and Buck Owens and Chuck Berry, and just this whole, and I was just bombarded with it. And actually the first band I played out live with, I was 14, was a band called Pendulum, and I played keys of all things. And,
ironically,
and it was a bunch of 30-year-old guys playing, at the time, top 40 album rock, you know. So it was a lot of just like pads and B chords, and you just throw up the Hammond B3 all night long and just do this.
Well, once again, growing up in the St. Louis area, you never know which way music's going to take you in this area, because there is so many different types. Bluegrass, country. You can go somewhere any night and find just about any type of music. And
I played in a band called Blitz one time, for a little while, and it was all 80s rock and and 70s arena rock stuff.
Right.
And then I was in a new wave band called Misdemeanor. We were the house band at Kennedy's, I think, in 1984.
I remember that band.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was all new wave. It was In Excess and Devo and stuff like that.
See, and there you go, folks. That's why they can claim to go from Merle to Poison. Each one of them. And it really shows off this diversity of this area in music just within you guys' band.
Yeah.
Really cool. And we appreciate you guys coming in and talking to us about the Doc Holliday Band. Now, you guys got a website. People can keep up with you at the DocHollidayBand.com, right?
That's correct.
Yes, that's right.
And these guys are real good about putting their gigs up. They're always up to date, and we appreciate that. So,
that's Mama Bandmaster who does that.
It's so important.
That's Glen's wife, Nikki, and she's the one that actually keeps up with all of that. She does a great job.
You're doing a great job, because some bands don't keep up with it. Makes it tough.
You're on break on Saturday night, and somebody comes up and is like, "Where you at next week?" And I'm like, "Go ask Nikki." picky. I go wherever she tells me.
And we've talked many times on this program, Pigpen. It's not the band members always making things cook in the band. It's the people behind them that
Right,
support them.
they're just going up picking the strings and bending the notes. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys coming in. We've been talking to the Doc Holliday Band tonight. Once again, check out their website, thedocholidayband.com. Always up to date, and you can find out where they're playing around the river bend. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming in.
Well, you're
you for
welcome.
having us.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thank you.
everybody get out and support local music and art.